The most important thing that a person needs to know in order to transform their health is how their body actually functions.
How does it feel to tell your body to shut up every time you have inflammation, every time you have swelling, stiffness, or redness?
One of the things that are missing from our current healthcare system is treating the root cause and not just the symptoms.
That's not taught in school, and people really are unaware in regards to what optimal health truly is, because they're taught through the media to look for signs and symptoms of disease and dysfunction in the body. And that's not the first place to start.
When someone isn't feeling well, they'll go to their medical doctor, they'll say, I'm experiencing this, and oftentimes they're given a medication in the form of a pill to take.
Tell your wife to shut up. You do that enough times, you're going to get divorced. You tell your body to do it, you get a disease, and there is no disease. It's just a symptom of you having a bad relationship with your beautiful body.
And what happens is that even though that's treating the symptom, it's not really getting to why that ailment began in the first place.
About 90% of what you need to do to be healthy depends on your behavioral choices. If you choose healthy, you are likely to be healthy. If you choose unhealthy, you're likely to be unhealthy.
How we live our lives matters, and it's being able to have a balance and a homeostasis of body, soul, and mind.
So holistic medicine is natural medicine, it's natural healing, and it's using the body's self-healing mechanisms to come back into a state of alignment.
And that means that the body is amazing and can heal. And if we do the right things, we can actually improve pain, tightness, and strength.
The body is actually designed to heal itself. What you need is just the right conditions and the right tools.
The traditional or the mainstream medicine is really great at finding what disease you actually have. They have all the technology, all the tools, so much research on finding what's actually wrong with your health. But then the solutions are often like quick fixes and some medicines that kind of just help the short term, or they reduce the pain, for example, but they don't get to the core of the problem.
What we're experiencing right now in our healthcare is it's disease care. It's not healthcare. Healthcare is when you're actually treating someone's health. What we're doing, we're treating disease. We're waiting for somebody to be sick before we address it. So that's disease care, in my opinion. Sick care, not healthcare.
Because you only go to the doctor when you're sick. You only show up when there's signs and symptoms of things not working well.
I think the reason why Western medicine focuses on symptoms is because they're trained that way. They're not trained to look at the person holistically.
You only think about healthcare when you're in pain, inflammation, have swelling, or have a fever. You only think about healthcare when you're in emergency 911.
Holistic medicine looks at the whole person, not just parts of the body. We're not only considering the whole body, but we're also considering the person's mind, their spirit, their environment. What do they do for work? What's their lifestyle like? What do they eat? How do they sleep? You look at everything that this person does that is contributing to their health situations.
So we need to understand something, that all the painkillers, the antidepressants, okay, they're not for healing. Come on. You tell your kids not to do drugs, but you're going to do them.
We doctors, myself included, are quick to prescribe prescription medication because there's no time. You have 5 to 10 minutes to discuss your treatment plan, sometimes less. It's quicker to say, take prescription and move on. When you dive into discussing lifestyle changes, food, supplements, herbs, exercise, water, you have no time. Nobody pays you for that.
Doctors are very, very busy, and because of our insurance-based care system, they're given just a few minutes of time to make a huge decision for someone. And those of us who have a problem and need to go to the doctor, there's so much that we need to tell them, but they don't have the time to be able to sit down and listen.
One of the main reasons that holistic medicine is not part of mainstream medicine, because it's a money-making industry and they want you to come back. They want you to come back for more.
Unfortunately, in a capitalist environment, greed puts profit over the welfare of individuals.
Money, money, and money.
It's people's health, it's people's life. It shouldn't be like every other business. Profit should not be our priority. The welfare of the individual, of people, should be people before profit.
They're offered medication after medication, and yet they're still suffering. But they're given the promise that they're supposed to feel better with these medications, and they don't.
That's what is covered. That's what is recognized by insurance companies. They pay for procedures. They pay for diseases. They don't pay for prevention. They don't pay for good advice. They don't pay for good, trusted relationship.
If they were to not only treat the symptoms, but heal the cause, people would not be coming back. People would not be in a state of sickness. They would be in a state of health.
If we prevent the disease, then we wouldn't be worried about it in the first place. We are now able to treat so many diseases. I just feel like we are not preventing enough.
When you catch things faster, it's just a lot easier to treat them. And we just don't do that a lot.
So if you want to live a healthier lifestyle, first you have to decide that you want to live a healthier lifestyle.
Ultimately, I had to do the research myself. I had to get second opinions.
Each of us is our own wellness advocate, and to not place that responsibility on anyone else.
And I hear it every day. They're like, oh, I'm getting older, so I'm supposed to be in pain. And that's such a myth. It's such a myth.
I'm 66 years old and I'm just getting started.
A lot of parents, in order to change the child's health, that requires them to change, and then they want to do it. So, I see children being kind of stuck in their unhealthy ways and getting more and more different health conditions because of the parents' unwillingness to make changes in their house when it comes to the food that they eat, or structure that they have, using the electronics, allowing them play video games for hours and hours and things like that.
What do people have to do if they want to live a healthier lifestyle? Well, that would be called break away from the herd, because the herd's off to the butchers.
A lot of people are in survival mode, our fast-paced societies, lack of self-care, just the herd mentality. I mean, they barely have enough time to, get enough sleep in and to eat good food.
It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not just something that you quick fix. No. And no doctor, no matter how good they are, can fix your problem. They can help you. They can help you with correcting some acute situations. But what it takes to achieve and maintain good health has so much to do with you as an individual.
And it's not that you have to overhaul your whole lifestyle. We can't underestimate the small, cumulative, and synergistic effects of how we live our lives.
Most of the diseases in my practice as a primary care provider is lifestyle-related diseases.
If you are in a life and death situation, let's say if you were traumatized by a car accident, you need to get that taken care of, because that's a life and death situation.
Hospitals and surgery, they've saved my life twice. I appreciate it so very much. But yet most people don't have those acute conditions on a daily basis.
Have I ever taken a drug in my life? Absolutely. Okay. Would I take maybe a pill if I had a really bad headache and it was continual? I probably would, but I'd want to get to the root cause. How did I create enough stress to create that mess?
Health is a state of being. It's a state of wellness. It's a state where people feel energetic. They feel happy with themselves. They feel joy. You can't feel those things without having health. You can't feel those things without really understanding what your body requires.
I feel that people put their health on the back burner is because they are under the notion that they can do anything that they want. They're indestructible. And when something does go wrong, their medical doctor will fix it.
Health is choice.
I feel like holistic health in one sentence is really about connecting to the self and knowing what you need.
So you start to heal on all those other levels, not just physical.
We see the current system just sniffing that passion. Is dampening our enthusiasm to do what is best for our patient.
The direction that we're heading is not right. We have never been, this sick. Like, look at all the children that are having all these issues, health-wise, mental-wise, physical health, mental health.
Hippocrates, the real father of medicine, would roll over in his grave because back then, you didn't get paid until you helped the patient find wellness, okay? Now today, we can pay out the nose continually and nobody is standing up for their work. And if you actually took a look at how many people are getting well, you'd know that it is hell out there.
I'm sorry to say, I just do to my patients and for my patients what their insurance allowed. I don't really have the right to give them the best care. I tell them, I say, this is the best that I should have recommended for you. Unfortunately, your insurance will not cover it.
There are two specific things that are missing in our current healthcare system is empowerment to really take command of their own health. And the second thing is education.
I think once people realize that they have more power than they think right now, they would be thriving.
You have the modern mainstream medical training. Nobody teaches us about natural remedies or herbs.
Everything is so segregated and fragmented, and we have doctors for everything. And these doctors very rarely talk to each other.
It sounds good if we can talk to each other. Is it possible to talk to each other in the current healthcare environment? No, it's not possible because the system has put doctors on the treadmill. Think about when you're on treadmill, just you're running full speed, trying to burn calories. What more can you do when you are running on a treadmill? We have to find a way to get off the treadmill first.
For your finances, you have a team. You have a banker, an accountant, a bookkeeper. You have a mortgage person, perhaps. You seek out different opinions from different professionals for the needs that you have. The same should be true for your health. You need a team.
I think collaboration is a huge thing that's missing from our healthcare system right now. Collaborative care from our healthcare practitioners, doctors, nurses, and holistic care practitioners coming together and actually improving the health long-term and not just on a short-term manner.
So it's a teamwork, absolutely teamwork. And you know who is at the center of that team is the patient.
You're not broken. The system is broken. Our healthcare system treats disease. It doesn't treat your health. And it makes a lot of money treating our diseases. There is a lot of money that the pharmaceutical industries make on medications, on surgeries. And unfortunately, that doesn't always get us well.
We can change that. We have the power. We can't just give up because our patients depend on us.
Sometimes I think people have to hit rock bottom on one level. Because when you hit rock bottom, you have two choices. You either go downhill 6 feet under, or you go up, where you start to demand and have a higher standard of health and wellness.
Along the line, someone will tell you that you need to advise your patient to eat healthy. But I don't really remember any time that someone has devoted time during our medical training curriculum to teach about nutrition.
How diet relates to physical health is a direct connection. So just imagine you're driving your car and the fuel tank is empty and you're ready to refuel it. But instead of putting gasoline in it, you put sewage water in it. How on earth do you expect that engine to run? The same thing is exactly true for your body. If you fuel your body with great, healthy, natural foods, of course it's going to run more effectively, efficiently, and be more vital and productive. If you put junk food, sugar, fast food, grease, and oil into your body, how on earth could you expect it to function well when you're actually putting that toilet water into your body?
You know, God created a body that is self-cleaning, but what do you do with all these heavy metals? What do you do with all these man-made chemicals?
We're using our bodies as trash cans, and we've been taught to do so. We've been taught that it's normal to eat unhealthy, and it's a prize.
Think about people who choose to smoke, drink, or use drugs. These are things that we are choosing to do to our body, things that we are personally, sometimes actually going out there spending money, basically buying these harmful things and putting them in our body. The choice or the decision to exercise, the decision to drink water or soda, the decision to eat vegetables or eat processed food, it's all our choice.
So if you're constantly feeding your body with gluten and really high fat foods, chances are you're not going to have really good gut health.
So people don't know what they're consuming in the food, the GMOs, in the products, the toxins. We just need to be more educated and also, stand up for getting stuff out of our food, like food coloring that makes our kids hyperactive. And I think people just don't realize a lot of that stuff causes issues.
Every 7 years of our lives, all the cells of our body, all the material of our body is completely renewed. So you are what you eat. So you better look out for products that are healthy to put in your body, because that's actually how you're going to become.
So when you're looking at a food label, the easiest thing you can do without getting complicated with too many fancy words is if you flip that food over and there's more words than you can read in 2 seconds, there are too many additives to that food.
We live a fast-paced life, and we don't have enough time in the day. So unhealthy foods are easier. They are within reach. Go to any restaurant when you're out on the road, and you can fill your body with processed foods.
Food is important. The quality of food is important. What you eat, how you eat, when you eat. For example, eating in a rush. It doesn't matter how deliciously healthy that meal is. If you're eating on the go, on your computer, and not focusing on that meal, that food is not going to digest properly. That food is not going to sit in your system and absorb the nutrients that it's supposed to absorb.
Now listen to me. If you don't food combine properly, like starch and protein, a protein will actually neutralize the starch enzymes. The starch enzymes neutralize the protein. And guess what? You have two things that are going to go on in your body: digestion or rotten putrefaction.
I definitely recommend eating high vibrational foods, such as fruits and vegetables. So anything that's alive, anything that you would find in nature that grows in the ground, that you can pick with your hands and eat with your hands.
Fruits and natural vegetables. Raw vegetables are really good, but if your digestive system can't handle that, then you may have to steam it.
So these are foods that are going to help to make you feel alive. They're going to help to make you feel well and nourished and satisfied. It's really about reframing our way of thinking.
In regards to foods for fueling your body better, the North American diet is so detrimental to health and well-being. The lobbyists and the marketing boards have a great monopoly on telling you what you should be eating, when in actual fact that just creates more disease and illness in your body. So great healthy foods that you should consume for your body come from the earth. Your body has enzymes to digest foods of the earth. Anything that's packaged, processed, manufactured, or comes from not a plant, but a manufacturing plant, leave it on the shelf. The reason it can be on the shelf is because there's nothing organic left in it to rot. So there is nothing of benefit for you. So forget about, if you can't read it and pronounce it and know what it says, you don't need to consume it.
The fast food, which is quick and easy, that tastes so good, that's really not the answer, because it's actually a lower vibrational food. It's something that's no longer alive, and it's been sitting probably in the store for weeks and weeks and weeks.
So just remember, the commercials, the media, the food producers, they have all chemically created substances which tickle your taste buds. So know this, all the foods that you love to eat and that you crave, forget it. Leave them alone, ditch them, and go for the healthy, natural foods because that other stuff is killing you.
When you eat and you're tired and you go and eat, the first few minutes you go, oh my gosh, I'm starting to feel energy here. And guess what happens after 15, 20 minutes? Are you ready for this? You're more tired than when you were eating, but now you feel full because guess what? You've been brainwashed. Honey, are you full yet? Burp. Oh, well, no, I've got a little bit more room. Shove some more stuff in there. Let me tell you something. We are eating ourselves to death.
There are simple things that we can do today, like eliminating sugary drinks and drinking more water. Everyone can do that. I talk to people about eating vegetables. Yes, some people say, oh, you got to eat organic vegetable. Let's start by eating vegetables first. And when I talk about vegetables, I'm talking about non-starchy vegetables, like, green leafy vegetables. And then we ask them, what else can you change? Sometimes the patient themselves knows. They can say something like, I think I eat a lot of sweets. Well, let's cut down on sweets. And some people will say, oh, I don't like cooking. I don't cook. I mostly eat fast food. Well, if you mostly eat fast food, you need to change that. You need to eat more of food that you cooked yourself and less of fast food.
One of the things is to not hide healthy foods. When you're cooking for your child, especially at a very young age, cooking healthy foods such as just broccoli by itself, not hidden in any sauces, not hidden in anything else, literally having a child eat a broccoli, a raw broccoli. I always remember my son, I had done groceries, he reached into my bag. By the time I turned around, had eaten my entire broccoli, and he was only 3. And I looked at him and I said, do you like broccoli? And he could barely talk, and he, mouthful of broccoli, said, I love broccoli. And he picked the broccoli over the box of granola bars because we had shown him that broccoli by vegetables, they're delicious, they're fun to eat, and he enjoyed this big tree of broccoli. It can be hard, though, to actually find nutritious foods, to grow nutritious foods without pesticides and things. But it's possible.
One main issue or challenge with our soils is that we are producing food on such an industrial way that we using all kinds of chemicals and other practices that basically kill the health of the soil. So it's killing all kinds of microorganisms that are super important for the soil. And in that way, we are also producing food that is super low in nutrients.
But let's imagine that this is the earth, and the surface of this apple represents the surface of the earth. And if you talk about growing our food, the food that sustains these 7 billion people on the planet, I'm going to hand you a piece here. Okay, there's about half the apple, and there's about another quarter of the apple. That actually represents the water. So this portion of the apple represents the solid surface, the terra firma that we have potential to grow food on. So I've taken away another half, so we're down to about an eighth of this original apple. And this piece represents the portion of the earth that is too hot or too cold or too wet or too dry to grow food. So the climate is not suitable. So this is what we have left to feed the 7 billion and the 7 billion of the future. So I'm going to remove another sliver of that apple because that's the portion of the earth that's the lungs of the earth. We don't want to grow our food on the Amazon rainforest, the Canadian boreal forest. We need that for our oxygen. So part of this, the solid surface of the earth, but not where we want to grow food. And I have to take another sliver away because this is the portion of the earth that we've already built on. We have built malls, roads, schools, airports, places where we, do our thing. And I'm also going to take another sliver away because some of the soil on the earth is not suitable for growing. It's poor. It has potential, but it's poor soil. So actually, this portion of our apple is what we have to provide food, grow food for the 7 billion here now and those in the future. And if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty, I'll say that this piece of skin, the skin of the earth, I've lost it. This piece of skin actually represents what we rely on for our food.
We can focus on a new way of producing food, which is called regenerative farming. And in that farming practices, there's lots of ways, and it's mainly focusing on improving the health of the soil.
if we are, which I do believe we're this really advanced chemistry factory, in order for us to make all the right compounds, the right hormones, the right synapses, or everything that we need in our body to function, we need to have the right amount of minerals or the right selection of minerals.
I was curious about the ways that our farm systems might be able to mimic what nature demonstrates in a native ecosystem. And what would it be like if we could harness the same cycles and the same interconnected beneficial relationships that happen in natural ecosystems in our farm systems?
I feel that what happens in the kitchen is going to determine what happens on the land. So the more people that we can get inspired to buy food that comes from regenerative farms or to grow the food themselves, the faster the transition to this type of farming. So we use the mantra that healing our soil and healing our relationship with soil can also help us heal ourselves, our community, and our world.
Full of roots, and it's such a nice structure. So I feel that this is a really healthy soil because this is some potatoes that were grown in this regenerative soil practice here. So they minimized the tillage, they incorporated a lot of cover crops, and you can just tell by smelling it, really, it has such a rich, like forest, sweet kind of smell. So I know that this is a really good soil that has been taken care of. And you get a heart-shaped potato.
You get a heart-shaped potato. How do you eat that?
Okay, so what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be looking at food and what foods are considered bad and what foods we want to look at as the alternatives. So a healthier option, for example. So we're going to look at our favorite nighttime snacks, potato chips. So we've got some potato chips here that are all dressed. This is what we gravitate towards because it has high flavor. But these potato chips actually have MSG, monosodium glutamate. It enhances the flavor, but yet it does not create balance in the body. It's not a whole food, and it's not better than a whole potato that only has avocado oil and salt. When you look at these potato chips, the list on the bag is so long that you can't even pronounce half the words on this bag. So if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it.
Understand something. This here is the highway of life or the highway of a really bad road and all the way to becoming sick.
Your health is your wealth. There are many alternatives. When we're stuck on eating something that we're used to just because that's what our parents did and we don't ever think about what else we can do, the point of all of this is to show you that you have choices.
We want to stay away from things that are high on sugar, things that are heavily processed with food colorings and preservatives and things like that. All of those things are going to cause inflammation.
And understand the new rule. We are going to drink our solids and chew our liquids. What does that mean? That means that the more you chew your food, the smaller the particle, and when it goes down into your stomach will only digest the surface area. The bigger the surface area from you chewing your food into particles, you're going to absorb the nutrition. Did you know that if you chew your food, that it's like a liquid going down? That's how much you chewed it. You could eat 1/3 of the food and get 3 times the energy. And this was a study done. So you keep on drinking your water at your meals because you're gonna wash those chunks down. You're only digesting the surface energy. And then don't food combine properly. And guess what we're gonna have? We're gonna be bloated, we're gonna be sick, and we're gonna putrefy. Now remember, from your mouth to your anus, it's 30 feet. That's a long highway. And guess what? By the time it gets down there, you're gonna have root rot. That's your large intestine. Then you're gonna be rotten to the core where you're pooping in your pelvis. Why do you think that hip surgeries are everywhere? Why do you think knee surgeries? Why do you think low back surgeries are the main thing done? Because your large intestine's falling down and out, which is your immune system. You've been pooping in your system. That's why when you go to roll over and you kiss your wife, or she goes to kiss you, she goes, honey, please, please, somebody pooped in your mouth. That's because you're rotting down in your floor. That's falling on the floor, which is your immune system. And because you're rotting down there, hot air rises like any other gas balloon that you've got here, and it's coming up. Why do you think it smells like poop in your mouth?
If you think of the GI tract as a 30-foot tube, it's counterintuitive, but it's really separate from the body. And so you don't want anything from the intestinal tract to get into the bloodstream. But when the lining becomes permeable or leaky, then proteins can escape through the gut wall into the bloodstream. And then the immune system reacts because it says, oh, wait, these proteins don't belong in the bloodstream. And so it starts to attack the proteins. And depending on a person's genetic weak link, it could attack the thyroid because one of these proteins, one of the amino acid sequences in this particular protein strand would look like the thyroid. So then, the thyroid gets attacked. Or if one of these amino acid strands looks like the joints, then the joints get attacked and you have rheumatoid arthritis. And on it goes. And that's how autoimmunity, which is rampant in today's society, develops. And it starts with intestinal permeability or leaky gut.
A great way to detoxify the body is to intermittent fast. You can start with 12 hours. You can work your way to 16, 24 hours.
Isn't it crazy? It's not what you eat. It's not eating. Not eating is the most powerful thing you'll ever do.
When you turn off the digestion for a period of 36 hours, you start the process of autophagy. And process of autophagy is a process where your body starts eating away things that it doesn't need. So fat cells, tumors, scar tissue, all of that kind of stuff, the body is able to eat up in that process of autophagy when food is not being delivered into the stomach for your body to digest.
Because now 70% of your energy, which goes to digesting food, is now going to go into your body, and that's going to be called autophagy, and it's going to start digesting the things that you don't want. Pimples, cysts, tumors, adhesions, scar tissue. I could keep going. And that's what autophagy does. Eating yourself well.
I think fasting is super helpful because it gives the body the chance to use its energy on things that it usually can't do because it's so occupied from digesting food. And so you're giving the body a chance to actually use that energy to break down fat. You're using that energy to digest or eliminate pathogens. You're using that energy to replete your system. So I think fasting can be super helpful by just giving your body a break when you're doing it in spurts here and there.
I am a big proponent of intermittent fasting because it supports the body in so many ways. Now, intermittent fasting is a time-structured way of eating. Now, when people think of, they hear the word fasting, they're like, oh, I'm not going to eat. Well, you really are eating. You're just eating your fat because you are consuming calories, just not through your mouth. It's also decreasing insulin levels, which insulin resistance and diabetes and the corresponding heart disease and all that goes along with it is epidemic in today's society. And so people can get their insulin levels down through fasting, and you get all the good stuff going on too, human growth hormone. And I just call it strategic eating. You can start doing it slowly. So don't think of it as reducing calories so much as reducing your eating window. So start by, just eating dinner and not having a snack before bed, and then skipping breakfast and eating lunch.
How do you help your body deal with environmental toxins or toxins that just builds up in our body? Number one, water. Over 90% of our body, this body that we're looking at, is made up of water. The body can exist for about 40 days if you hydrate it without food. Without water, the body can only go for about 3 days, and there's a problem. So water is so important, more important than food. Unfortunately, most of us are not drinking enough water. So when you drink enough water, what happens? Your blood flow is better. Your system has less toxins because the water helps the body to eliminate toxins through the liver, through the kidneys, and through the sweat that come out of our body.
If you don't love the plain water, natural ways to flavor your waters by adding lemon, fresh fruits and vegetables, and spicing it up that way. And that way you can really fuel your body better.
I am a fan of metabolic typing. And so what metabolic typing is it's eating to balance your autonomic nervous system and your oxidation rate within your cells, which the oxidation rate is how you burn food for fuel. So for instance, I'm a fast oxidizer, meaning my metabolism requires protein and more fat than other metabolic types do. Think of it as my metabolism is like a fire, and when I eat too many carbs, it's like newspaper on a fire. It's combusting those carbohydrates too fast, so I can get anxiety and I can feel hyped up. But when I add more fat, it's like putting a log on the fire, and that fuel burns clean and long, and it satiates me longer, and it keeps my hormones balanced, and there's just a lot of downstream effects to eating for your metabolic type.
Now, every food that you consume leaves behind a residue. Some foods leave behind an acidic residue and other foods leave behind an alkaline residue. The North American diet is very acidic. And so what your body actually does is it utilizes the mineral from your bones to neutralize the acid in your blood to maintain that neutral pH.
If the pH just even drops slightly in your bloodstream, you'll go into a coma. If it drops even more than that, death. But that's not going to happen. So when you become acidic, your body's going to pull calcium from your bones. Why do you think osteoporosis is so bad today? Osteopenia to osteoporosis. People have bones like Swiss cheese.
So one of the first things to do is to eliminate the acidic foods from your diet, from your consumption, so that you're not introducing it into your system. Another thing that you can do is help to alkalize, offset that acidity by introducing alkalinity. So greens products, greens drinks are an essential way to help to bring more alkalinity into your system and help neutralize the acidic environment inside your body.
And when it's too acidic, you're not going to be absorbing even just, minerals from your fruits and vegetables. It's harder to absorb that stuff, and it's not an ideal environment for digestion. So what happens is your food will sit there, and it's called peristalsis, and your food will ferment. So then it actually turns into alcohol in your stomach when your stomach's not an ideal pH. And it's just not good for the digestive system.
So, like I said, I'm a fast oxidizer. Now, I had two clients that were they were a married couple, and they were both slow oxidizers. So if you think of a fast oxidizer, we get things done fast, and we like to eat meat, and we like to do aerobics, and we can multitask. Well, slow oxidizers are like a little engine that could not get up the hill. So their diet is opposite to mine. They need more produce in their diet and less fat and less meat. A slow oxidizer does well on like a lot of salads, a lot of root vegetables, and less fat and less meat.
We know that 50% of the population will experience life-threatening stage 4 inflammation, because I don't call it cancer, because understand something, the C in cancer stands for corruption, contamination, and conflict, and that's what they do to us.
So if you do find yourself out, we're talking about alkalinity and acidity. If you do find yourself out having a big steak for supper, rather than having the fries on the side with the trans fats and all the carbohydrates, swap that out for the leafy greens, for the fruits and vegetables that are going to help to balance out some of the acidity you're consuming. That's going to provide some of the alkalinity that you're consuming to create more balance in your body. So ditch the chips and go for the veggies instead.
One of the things that I do to support myself is I drink some aloe juice in the morning, and I mix it with a little water.
When it comes to sugar is a drug. It's pretty much a neurotoxin that will create, toxicity in your system. When you have toxins, you have inflammation. And then meats, the problem with meat is that we have antibiotics and steroids in those, and antibiotics will mess up your good bacteria in your gut, therefore lead to more accumulation of toxins, not being able to process the waste, and in turn cause inflammation.
How many people think that it's cholesterol that are creating heart attacks? It's not. That's the biggest ruse of all. And understand, Cholesterol is not a disease, and the body makes cholesterol anyways. And cholesterol is like candle wax, and it's trying to goop the inside of those arteries, the cracks that you're creating from the inflammation and pulling the minerals out. And what else happens? The calcium actually goes into those cracks. And how many people know that most strokes and most heart attacks are actually caused because the calcium's like coral and it'll cut the artery a little bit. And when it cuts it, now you have a blood clot, and if it loosens up, it goes through the heart, and there's your heart attack, there's your stroke. And nobody told you that one, did they?
Cholesterol is essential for every single cell membrane in your body. Your body produces cholesterol. So when you find that you're told that you have a high cholesterol content, rather than them telling you how to manage that through the foods that you're eating, which are bad for you, they just give you a pill. What does that do? Shut down the natural functioning within your body, so that your body stops creating the cholesterol that you need, so you can go ahead and eat whatever you want and make yourself more sick, because the cholesterol is going to affect the function on the inside, which is going to lead to more signs and symptoms, which is going to need another pill to fix that spiraling effect and keep you in the medicine machine.
Let's talk about vitamins and minerals. But more importantly, I'd like to talk about something that's really important. We would never have to take vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, tons of enzymes, if they didn't mess around with our world. I want you to understand something. I want you to take a look at this. Do your own homework. You ever hear of humic and fulvic? Well, humic and fulvic is actually in the soil. Did you know that humic and fulvic is actually plant life that's millions of years old that was in all our soil and now has been taken out of the soil? Did you know that they put chemical fertilizers in the soil now to replace that? Did you know that the humic and fulvic, when you actually took that into your body, when you eat from the soil and you take the humic fulvic in, that it actually picks up heavy metals and locks it down in your body to take it out? Did you know that humic and fulvic, they have 90 micronutrients that are dropped off in your cells?
Probably the most essential is humic and fulvic acid. And the right combination of the humic and fulvic acid.
But now we don't have that. So the more that we lose things when your vegetables and your fruit do not have flavor, that means that there's no minerals in there. It's the minerals that give it flavor.
We can say like, okay, are tomatoes good or bad for our health? Let's take that example. But then if you look at tomatoes that are like industrially produced, they have lots of chemicals and everything. When we then like do the research, as it turns out, they don't have much or no nutrients, no vitamins, and it's basically just water with poison in them. So obviously when you eat these kind of tomatoes, you can already guess that's not going to be very good for your health. So, but if you then focus on, for example, tomatoes that are grown naturally with healthy soil, with lots of compost, eating this kind of tomatoes that might be even much smaller, but they're going to be so rich in nutrients, and the nutrient density is going to be so much higher. So I think focusing on that has a huge impact.
So it really is important to know where your food is coming from, and you're not always able to receive all of the nutrition strictly from food sources. So nutrients and supplements and minerals and vitamins are necessary to help create the balance in your body that it needs, because not everything is available all the time.
Well, if you can't buy organic, I think what you can do is put back the supplements that you need back in your diet, right? So, for example, enzymes are important for your digestion, and maybe probiotics. I think that's really important.
The microbiome is a series of microorganisms that determine your immune system, your digestive health, your mood. There's so much going on in your gut. So we figured out how to encapsulate that, and that's called a probiotic. Probiotic is something you take to help replete your microbiome of these microorganisms, these good bacteria, to help with digestion and your immune system.
I think the other supplements that we need are magnesium. That's really important for relaxation of your heart and muscles. The other supplements that are also important is vitamin C. I mean, the more stress you have in your life, the more vitamin C you're going to need.
Well, the B vitamins are critical for energy production in the body. And interestingly, because they're water soluble, they are highly affected by stress and sugar. So the more stressed out you are and the more sugar you eat, the more your B vitamins are going to be depleted. And if you're familiar with the citric acid cycle in the body, it's one of the mechanisms by which we make ATP. So ATP is the currency of the human body. It's made in the mitochondria, and it's how we power our bodies. And when we don't have enough ATP, then we can't fuel our bodies. People who have enough ATP aren't sick.
I think zinc is really important because of the fact that it helps maintain your immune system.
ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, and it's the currency of the body made in the mitochondria, and it requires B vitamins. And B vitamins are in a lot of different foods, nuts and seeds, and if you're eating a healthy diet, you're probably getting enough. One of my favorite supplements is desiccated beef liver. It's made from grass-fed cows. The one I buy is from New Zealand, and it doesn't taste like liver, but it's all the methylated B vitamins that the body can use.
But I believe that sensible use of supplements, making sure that you get enough vitamin C, vitamin D, B complex. Again, this is something that really depends on the individual, because if you're getting a good balanced diet, you really don't need supplements. I will say, if you really want to take supplements, talk to someone who is knowledgeable. Could be your primary care provider, could be a nutritionist, could be someone who is just knowledgeable on how to use these supplements. And the rule of the thumb is don't overdo it. We need them in small amounts.
Vitamin B is really good for your blood. Vitamin D is really good to reduce inflammation. No one wants inflammation in their body. And lemon balm is really good to help calm the nervous system and reduce stress.
I'm a fan of supplementation to replace what's missing in our diets. Magnesium is not in the soil or in minimally amounts, and so we need to replace that. We need that to make ATP in our cells. We need it to control the 1,000 enzymes, and 80% of our metabolic processes require magnesium. Supplementation is huge. Detoxification, I feel, is a missing piece in people's health, because people think so much of, well, I need to get nutrition into my body, but the cellular membrane, which is really the brain of the cell rather than the nucleus, the cellular membrane is a two-way street. Nutrition needs to get in, and waste just from burning our food for fuel needs to get out. So detoxification, I think, is really a missing piece.
So castor oil is one of these oils that can penetrate the system through the skin layers, 90% through in order to reach the organs. It's a very rare thing for oils to do that. And so when castor oil does that, it can penetrate these organ systems like the liver, especially if you do a castor oil liver pack. You're able to penetrate the liver and assist it directly through transdermal absorption to help detox and support your system that way. Nettle tea is also really good for the nervous system. It actually helps to stimulate the liver. There's some really good antimicrobial herbs. One of my favorites is berberine. Berberine is one of these herbs that's an antiviral, an antiparasitic, an antibacterial. It also helps regulate blood sugar. It also has been shown to reduce blood pressure and cholesterol. So it's one of these amazing herbs that acts like an antimicrobial. Antimicrobial means eliminates, gets rid of pathogens. And I think in doing so, helps support all the other systems, your blood sugar regulation, your blood pressure, all of that as well.
I think for the world to be more health conscious, we need a lot more education about what's going into our products, what affects us. We tend to not pay attention to that kind of stuff. And, I have a friend currently who she used to work for a very high-end makeup company. And she stopped a long time ago because she realized that the toxins in that makeup was actually affecting her endocrine system. She couldn't get pregnant. And now years and years down the line, Even though she's been doing a lot of holistic stuff, she now has breast cancer. So she's currently getting treatment for that. And so I just think the majority of people don't know what's in our products.
The root cause of anxiety and depression is not always a chemical imbalance. It's not always a mental health issue. Oftentimes it comes from the gut, from what we're eating, what we're absorbing, how we're metabolizing it. And if we look at the gut, at the liver, and how we detoxify these chemicals that we keep ingesting through our environment, through our air, through our water, then eventually we'll understand that our body is an entire system, and it's not just limited to our mental health.
So when somebody can really listen to their body and answer those calls, when you have a headache, what does that mean? When you have a tummy ache, what does that mean? You can be in optimal health when you are able to help yourself with those things and know what those mean.
Some ways that I detoxify the body is you can do ionic foot baths. There are some like foot patches. You can wear trace minerals are great for detox. So many people are very deficient in trace minerals and they don't know it. And so you need trace minerals for like every function of your body.
The word detox can sometimes be a little conflicting. A lot of people like the word detox and a lot of people don't. And the reason for that is because detox is not going to fix everything. Detox just means supporting your liver, gallbladder, your kidneys, things that eliminate toxins out of your body, and supporting those organs so that you have the most efficient elimination possible. So what can you do to detox? I'm a big fan of coffee enemas to help with draining the liver and the gallbladder and draining them of those impurities. I also think just simply water could sometimes be detoxing when somebody goes from 1 cup of water a day to 8 cups of water a day. That in itself is detoxing.
I remember one client wanted to fit into a little black dress for a wedding in a 3-month span of time. And I had to explain to her that she was not going to lose weight until she reduced her insulin levels, because high insulin delivers a 3-part punch. Number 1, it's an anabolic hormone, so it makes people gain weight. Number 2, it traps fat within the fat cells. Think of it as a jailer. So until those insulin levels come down, fat cannot be combusted for fuel. And part 3 is it increases cravings. And so it's once people are insulin resistant, they don't have a lot of leeway. They now need to put in the hard work of reducing those insulin levels through lower carbohydrate consumption, time-restricted eating, and consistent exercise.
Simple detoxes can be juices. So when you're cold pressing fresh juices from vegetables and fruits and doing that for a day or two to just really help the digestive system take a rest, kind of like fasting, where it doesn't have to work so hard to digest food every day.
A lot of people are very deficient in iodine. That is one thing. So that can cause like even just breast issues in women. When a woman gives birth, the baby gets a lot of that iodine. So afterwards, when they're feeling postpartum depression and not well, we're not realizing how deficient they are.
There was a study that showed that in order to really increase the diversity of your gut, of your microbiome specifically, consuming 40 different plant foods per week was important to help with that diversity. It looks like today you had a fruit, maybe a vegetable, maybe you had some nuts, some seeds, some granola, maybe you threw in a salad for dinner. That's one day. So think of that per week. That's not that hard to achieve.
You can go 10 days without food, you can go 7 days without water, but you can only go minutes without the breath. You need the breath.
Oh, breathing. It's just on the internet, there's a lot of things about breathing. But again, I tell people, keep it simple. Just recognize that a lot of us throughout the day do shallow breathing.
The mouth breathing leads to more infections. That air is not being filtered. That air is not being moistened. All the bacteria that's in the air, all the pollution, all that stuff gets directly into the throat, into the lungs. And now we have enlarged tonsils. Now we have enlarged adenoids. Now we're going and taking them out.
Taking a deep breath actually relaxes chemicals into your bodies to relax you.
Oh, breathing is big. I will see in reports, like it'll show hypoxia. So it doesn't even mean like that I'm not even talking about like breathing practices. Like we just tend to breathe shallow because we're not consciously thinking about doing it a lot of the time. And then our cells are actually not getting the oxygen. So when we don't actually stop to take deep breaths, our cells are not getting the oxygen they need to do the functions they need to do.
It's actually proven that when you kind of are in stress or things are not going according as you planned, it's your nervous system that it's under a lot of pressure. And then when you take several deep breaths, you actually reset your nervous system. So you kind of like go back to your inner peace in that sense.
I often encourage people to incorporate breath work into their daily routine. You can put your hand over your heart and your belly and take a few breaths in and out, and that really helps you to ground and come back into the body.
So if you notice throughout the day how you're breathing, it will actually help you to become even more health conscious, because if you hold your breath, you're actually holding that life force and you're holding the energy in. So it's really important to allow that breath to flow in and flow out, so that it actually relaxes the entire body when you're breathing more consciously, and it actually brings you more in the present moment.
Humans are meant to be nasal breathers, and only nasal breathing allows us to have the proper air intake that is adequate for our body, meaning nose breathing allows the filtration, allows the warming up, the moistening of the air, so it's not so harsh hitting the back of our throat or going into the lungs. Also, nasal breathing is the only way to get nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is a gas that is made inside the sinus cavities, and it's a nasal dilator, which allows for more blood circulation. Nasal breathing also allows for regulation of the air that comes into the body, meaning that we're not breathing in too much air. Just the way you can overeat, you can overbreathe.
I do think that we're constantly in contraction. We're on the computer contracted. We're always in our contracted system.
I don't know if you notice this, but we live in a contracted society. We're always trying to contract.
When we relate it to musculoskeletal pain, tension in the body comes from the joint sending a message to the muscle to hold. The muscle and the joint sending a message from the nervous system, because it's in a cycle of injury and re-injury. And that cycle sends a constant message to put like a hardening of the muscles, a tone of the muscles that continues to make it tighter and tighter and tighter over time.
So stretching allows the toxins to be released from the muscle tissue, and it keeps the joints flexible. When your joints are flexible, your mobility improves, right? When we get older, your joints lose flexibility. That's why people feel stiff, or you crack your bones and things like that. So daily stretching allows to maintain that flexibility in the joints and releasing that lactic acid that may be built up in the muscle tissue and in the joint tissue.
We're very mobile when you were little, and as you get older, we've learned to accept that things are tighter, things are painful. Mobility is key to make sure that every joint in the body is moving the way that it is supposed to, so that you don't go on that route to surgery.
It's important to stretch. It's important to put our body into an expansive position, not just a contracted position, because this is how our bodies receive information from the world. This is how we also improve our circulation. Oftentimes our circulation and our lymphatic system gets caught, it gets stuck. And when we don't expand or when we don't do any movement, we're making our systems, our circulatory systems congeal and everything slows down. So we need to expand and move our circulation.
You need to raise your heart. You need to elevate your heart rate to a certain amount so that you can actually build strength in your cardiovascular system. Cardiovascular activities that I recommend, actually just doing some simple squats, going down into just a simple squat, sitting to stand from a chair and doing it 10 times. It's harder than you think. And just getting outside, walking a path, hiking, those things, breathing in that fresh air are all great for cardiovascular health.
One of my favorite ways in regard to movement to boost vitality is by doing interval training. So what interval training is, it's getting your heart rate up for about 30 seconds, even 25 to 30 seconds, and then letting your heart rate come down and repeating that process for 8 cycles or intervals. That's why it's called interval training. And what that's doing is it's reducing insulin levels in the body and it's boosting human growth hormone. So you get a double whammy for fat burning, and the more fat you lose, then the less inflammation you have in the body. And the great thing about it is it takes so little time. I can do an interval session in a 10-minute time span, and I'm getting all the hormonal aspects of it.
I love to utilize the analogy of comparing your body to that of a machine. You know that if you don't take care of the machine, you don't grease it, you don't oil it, it's not going to last long and it's not going to function well. Well, the same is true for your body. When you do the same things over and over again, wear patterns happen. And that leads to misalignment through the joints of the spine. It leads to imbalances in the muscle structure.
Every joint in the body is supposed to move freely. It is supposed to, when you stand up, when you walk, when you run, when you bend down, the joints are supposed to move a certain way and the muscles are supposed to stabilize those joints. Because of sitting in poor posture and because of, aggressive sports or moving or falling or whatever has ever happened in our lives, we see that our joints are restricting and tightening. And the joints being turned off and stay off actually lead to degenerative conditions that walk us directly on that path to surgical intervention.
How about this guy? He works out and he walks like this. Yeah, I just came from the gym. Okay, he can't even move. You know what? When I can, I try to swim every day. And when I swim for 45 minutes. And the reality is this: you want to lengthen, strengthen, detox, and tone. Get that in your head. Lengthen, strengthen, detox, and tone. Every day I do this. I do what's called 3 pelvic squats. I do the crab stretch, and then I do long holding stretches and breathing.
How do we stop degenerative changes from occurring that lead us directly on a path of surgery? Well, number one, we have to look at our spine. We have to look at every one of our joints and move the joints in a way that they can stay mobile. We have to get every joint in the spine moving, every joint in the body moving.
In your 20s, 30s, 40s, if you have another 30 years of life, how do you want to live that 30 years that you have left, or 50 years?
By maintaining the health of your spine and getting checked regularly, that will help your body to last longer and function better, because each time you end up in a crisis situation, more scar tissue is laid down, there's more inflammation, there's more healing that has to happen, and it takes it further away from its normal position.
Arthritis means inflammation of the joint. So now my joint isn't just sore, it's stiff. Do you know why your joint's stiff? Because you were taking the calcium out of your bones in your knees to buffer down the inflammation in your knee joint. So what happens is now, just like the rust in a hinge, I can't open the door and shut it properly. So what we got to do is get that calcium back into the bone and get the tissues, the tendons, the ligaments, and the cartilage. We got to get that from being beef jerky, because when you have so much inflammation, you take the tissues in your body just as if you throw them on a barbecue, and guess what they do? They get smaller like beef jerky.
The traditional route for a person who has tightness or pain is you go to your doctor. The first thing the doctor is going to do is prescribe possibly a muscle relaxer or prescribe a pain medication. You're going to go home for a week or 2 weeks and see if those help your pain. They don't. So you're going to go back to the doctor. The doctor is then going to prescribe x-rays or MRIs or CT scans to see if you have a problem. Most people at that point are going to be told there's nothing wrong. So they're going to send you home. Typically what we see is we see about a 3-year trajectory. We're going to see that degenerative changes have increased.
I think we were conditioned by the society to always trust the doctor, always trust the person that wears the white coat.
The more calcium you pull from your bones, it's going to be lodged in your tissues, joints, organs, okay? And when it goes into your joints, okay, we're going to call that arthritis. And then we're going to call it what? Rheumatoid arthritis. And then what are we going to call it if we don't know what to do yet? We're going to call it rheumatoid osteoarthritis. So it's the same thing getting worse.
When you get up in the morning and you go, I have a little bit of tightness in my back, but it goes away when I'm moving around a little bit, that's already signs of arthritis in your lumbar spine, and that's your lower back. So in order to fully understand what's happening and to prevent your low back surgeries, you need to take these vertebrae and put a little bit of a stretch on them. And when you do that, you're actually breaking apart some of that arthritis and allowing space where the nerve are. Not doing that is going to continue to tighten and send that message to the muscles to stay in a tightened position. And then it's going to lead ultimately to stenosis.
Understand that symptoms are their body's communication of like something is off, I'm in misalignment, and I need your attention.
In this day and age of technology and devices, it is alarming the posture that I see of patients, whether they be adults or children, coming into the office.
Our lifestyle right now has a terrible way of putting us into stooped over postures. We're looking at our phones, we're typing, and we're actually developing other injuries and syndromes that were not out there 10 years ago.
So think of it. This is 10 pounds. This is a tiny little stick. You have 7 vertebrae in your neck from the base of your skull to the top of your shoulders. As that head is moving forward, that column of vertebrae are now being severely affected. So from the side view, as that head is moving forward, that vertebra is shifting this way. How on earth can your spinal cord exit the base of your skull, come down and go through and end up over here without being severed? It can't. The chronic pressure and strain and compression that is occurring on the brainstem, which regulates your vital function of breathing, is being compromised. But it can also expand into, migraine symptoms, whether that be light sensitivity, flashing of lights, tingling in the head. Just think, if you had a 10-pound weight doing a bicep curl, and you were to hold this position right here for an hour, this muscle would fatigue and you would drop that. You know what? These tiny little muscles don't have that luxury. This 10-pound weight is hanging off the back of your neck, and those tiny muscles are in chronic contraction.
What you need to do right now is sit up tall, and it needs to come from the pelvis. So instead of rounding those shoulders over, sit in a position that your pelvis comes up and sits you up, and you're not pulling your shoulders back. So pull that up, sit there, and if you have to put a pillow behind your back so that you're looking forward about this way, that's going to be better so that you don't shorten those muscles and cause those joints to restrict. And then get up and move every 30 minutes. So you don't need to sit longer than 30 minutes in one position.
At times, you can think that you're a superhero, that you can do it all, that you can fight through everything and handle it and come out on the other side amazingly. Well, I'm here to tell you that is not the truth. There is a finite limit in regards to how much your body can sustain, how much it can withstand. And when you reach that limit, if you're not smart enough to hear that little tap on the shoulder, or even bright enough to recognize that whack on the head by the 2x4, your body will shut you down. And that's exactly what happened to me. It was a Sunday afternoon. It was August. All the kids were in bed. They'd gone to bed early that night. It was quiet. My husband and I were going to share some peaceful time in our new home out in the country and with our 3 children. So they were all put to bed.
In 2014, I went to my medical doctor. I was experiencing a lot of pain in the area of my liver. I persisted. I knew something wasn't right. And so finally, after 6 months, he told me that he would send me for an ultrasound.
Hi, this is Michelle. I'd like to make an appointment with Dr. Kahindi for my liver.
And within an hour and a half, he called me back into his office, and they had found a benign tumor. It was the size of a grapefruit.
So here I am in the hot tub, finally taking a moment for myself, which hadn't occurred in such a long time, as you can just imagine, with such a busy household with 3 children, but also all of the other life events, major life events that had just recently occurred in my life. And as I was there, that's when it hit. And I experienced a cardiac event. And if my husband hadn't have been there with me, right beside me, I wouldn't be here today right now, because I would have drowned in the hot tub. And that was my wake-up call. And that's when I had to completely change my life and come to the understanding that I am not a superhero, contrary to what I thought or believed. Without self-love and taking care of me first, nothing else would matter, because I wouldn't see my kids grow up. I wouldn't live into my golden years with my husband.
I was immediately sent to a liver specialist, and he told me that the tumor, it was called a liver adenoma, was too big to operate on. And so I asked him what I could do, and he told me to stop eating meat, to cut out dairy, and to eat really healthy foods in order to try to shrink the tumor so that they could remove it. Another thing that they told me was that I had been on the birth control pill for about 7 years, and they told me that the tumor was driven by estrogen, which was caused by the birth control pill. And so I stopped taking the birth control pill, and I bought a juicer, and I juiced my way back into health. I took matters into my own hands because there was no medical doctor out there who was able to treat me. And so I took on self-healing on my own. And within 3 months, I was able to shrink the tumor 30%, and they were able to successfully operate on me.
I was going down that path of being completely burned out. I have to stop. I have to get down to the basic myself. I have to take my own medicine and listen to my own advice. Number one is creating time for self-care, creating time to cook the food you want to eat, drink enough water, take time to exercise, take time to listen to music that help you reduce stress.
It started when I was 12 with chronic knee pain. It moved into chronic yeast infections. It moved into headaches and digestive issues. I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, and no medication was making me feel any better. It just felt like it was adding another problem to my already long list of existing problems. I overcame that by doing my own research. At the time, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to become a medical doctor, and I took a pause on that because I felt like the system had failed me. And so I pursued other alternatives, other things that could potentially help me. And that's how I found naturopathic medicine. And then through naturopathic medicine and healing my gut, the problems that I had completely disappeared.
I had bronchitis, and I've been having bronchitis every winter, and I had it for 20 years. And then someone told me about these essential oils that I could take, and I immediately took to it, and I ordered, I think, about 5 bottles of rosemary oil, and I literally applied it on my chest. And so what I did was I did that faithfully for about 3 or 4 weeks. And then one morning I got up and I felt this light, literally this light came out of my chest, and I knew I was healed. It was intuitive, and I felt it, and I never got bronchitis ever again. It never came back.
I think sleep and rest and relaxation are also so very crucial. And in today's society where it's fast-paced, they almost wear, it as a badge of honor to not get enough sleep or not rest enough or not get enough relaxation. And then people can't connect with their purpose, and they try to fill this void that we all have within us with other things besides, a sense of purpose and the relationship with God and, connection with nature.
Sleep is primarily the most important thing that you could do for your health because it dictates whether or not you have enough energy for exercise or cooking healthy meals or taking the time to focus on your mental health. Sleep is by far one of the most important things you can do just to start today. That's simple.
The number of hours prior to midnight have twice the impact in regards to the restorative value in your biological body than the sleep that you receive past midnight.
Your circadian rhythm is like your natural alarm clock. And so oftentimes we have to get up for work and we set our alarm clock for 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or 5 a.m. for early risers. But when you have your natural circadian rhythm regulated, you actually begin to wake up at the same time every day, but your body does it naturally.
2-hour window right before sleep is probably the most important thing. It depends what you've eaten. It depends what you're watching. If you're watching a lot of TV, a lot of screen time right before you're about to go to sleep, you've just tricked your body into thinking it's daytime because these receptors behind your eyes are telling your pineal gland in your brain it's daytime. Not nighttime, daytime, because you have so many lights flashing through this window to your brain. Whereas if you take the time to just have lower lights, focus on reading, focus on calming things, now you're preparing your body for sleep. That's probably the best advice that you could start with.
Your body also detoxifies. When we are sleeping, the kidneys and the liver, the body takes out all the toxins in the body, tries to break them down and excrete them so that we feel fresh and revitalized when we wake up. So sleep is so important. You need to get enough sleep.
Next thing that is important to take care of when it comes to like whole body health is your mind. And you have to take care of it.
Starting to forget this whole perfectionist society where we have to be busy all the time. We always have to be doing something. We really need to just slow down.
Self-care is needed. You have to do it.
If you have all these negative emotions inside of you, that will eventually turn into a disease.
Remember, you are the driver. Your life is in your hands. You're in control.
So I think how emotional well-being links to mental health is that if we look at emotions, energy in motion. So when you have a certain emotion, you're moving a lot of energy.
Suppressed emotions do cause disease. For example, suppressed rage causes cancer. So if you are willing to face all of that anger and that suppressed rage, you have a chance to fight that cancer.
I have a saying called issues in your tissues. Now, those issues in your tissues first happen on a psychological level before a biological level. The invisible creates the physical.
It's important to know that we don't grow out of issues. When there are signs and symptoms early on, they will stay and, like I said, come back in a different form or in a more severe form.
If you don't release it out of your body, it will come out physically.
What I've noticed with myself and with other clients is when those things come, the emotions actually will weaken the immune system. And when they have a hard time keeping up with those emotions and the energetic disturbances those are causing in the chakras, the meridians, then that's when those illnesses or sicknesses will manifest.
Start to manage the thoughts that you embrace. For example, if you're scrolling through social media, start to really become aware of what thoughts you are engaging in or embracing, because that will affect your physical body. Are you feeling down on yourself? Are you feeling angry? Start to detoxify those emotions.
We don't want your emotions to be overused up here, and we don't want them to be suppressed right here. So what we're trying to do is bring them back to a balance.
If you focus on emotions that are more like love, peace, all these higher frequency emotions, you're going to improve your life and you're going to attract all kinds of things, because it's energy attracting energy.
One trick I love and I personally do is waking up in the morning before everybody else to give yourself that 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever time you have to just be alone with yourself, with your thoughts, whether it's through prayer, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through journaling, but taking that time to really listen to you, listen to the thoughts, and help create the day that you want.
Beginning each day with gratitude. What are 5 things that you're grateful for?
So if you have negative emotion that you don't know how to process, your body's going to store it. And that's what they call diseases, which is actually a symptom of you being out of alignment on a psychological, mental level.
Our thoughts can absolutely make us healthy or make us sick. So it starts with that thought, and that thought creates energy. And then that energy will go to the body somewhere.
So you really need to be real with yourself, and you need to think about why you're feeling the way you feel and what you can do in order to overcome that.
It's not my job to fix anyone. Therapy is neural re-education or education.
You can go down a negative thought spiral and you'll almost like manifest certain illnesses because you think you're gonna get them. Or if you tell yourself like, only bad things keep happening to me, then suddenly like bad things keep happening because that's where your thoughts are.
The other is really coming back to a place of love for yourself, not rejecting your body or rejecting your emotions or rejecting your feelings.
Shame kills and love heals. So a lot of people are living in that shame state, and it's so not good for your body.
Self-love is the best medicine, because guess what? You know what everybody says? Love is the answer. Well, love is just an ingredient. It's what you do with it. If I want to count on people to fill me up with love, I could get pretty desperate, okay? And then guess what? If I have to do that, I'm going to compromise what I eat, what I think, what I drink, and the way I live. I breathe on my own. Thank you very much. I'll fill up my own heart with love, and I'll be thankful so that I can shine that light onto my family, friends, and everyone else.
Yeah, I think love and laughter is one of the best medicines, because it's all about community and having people that support you. And if you can have a good laugh together with your friends or family, it's so important to go that, because it's putting you on a higher frequency. Even
when we smile, and even if we're faking the smile, it tricks our brain into thinking, that we're actually smiling. And it has all these health benefits for the body and creates the good chemicals.
I feel like if you laugh every single day and you sincerely love your life and who you are, that you will remain healthy for the rest of your life.
You need to really look at, okay, why am I here? What's my purpose? What's going on? Am I really truly happy in what I'm doing in my work and in my relationships? Or am I just putting up with it until I die?
What do you want your life to be? And you build that into the affirmations that you say to yourself while you're driving in your car, while you're looking in the mirror.
I'm very big on meditation, breathing, guided breathing exercises, really tapping into your mind, your subconscious mind, and changing those programs, filling your mind with positive thinking, positive emotions.
And the only way you're going to protect yourself is with a slight smile, connected to your breath, 6 seconds in, 7 seconds out, and you had a slight smile no matter what the crisis was. You could not attach yourself to that crisis.
If you suppress anger, it's going to cause issues in the body. You don't want to hide from emotion. You want to feel them, and then what you want to do is spend the majority of your time in those more positive, higher vibration emotions.
Just switch off from all the distractions of the world and just slow down.
Engage in activities like art. There's something about art that actually unleashes who you are as a creator. Find something that really makes your heart sing. Maybe it's singing, maybe it's dancing, maybe it's playing an instrument.
Everything starts on an energetic level. And also, the majority of things also start on an emotional level.
When you take time to actually quiet yourself and shut off the busyness of the day and really get in tune in regards to what your heart desires in this life and what you want to create for you, that is where you become truly connected and with your purpose.
Mental health and spirituality go together because I believe that everyone was sent to this planet for a reason. Everyone has a purpose, and we have to find what that is. We have to find our gift, and if you're not connected to your spirit, it's really hard to figure that out.
I'm a strong believer that every person is put on this planet for a certain reason, to have to do everything that's in your possibility to go towards that goal. Even if you might not even achieve that in your goal, it's really about moving forward.
Now you're not just going through the 9 to 5, come home, eat dinner, go to bed, wake up the next day, and have Groundhog Day 365 days a year. That's not living. That's barely sustaining. Living is knowing your purpose and serving that purpose by helping others in whatever fashion that looks like for you.
When you discover your purpose, something happens. You become so aligned with the universe. You have the energy of the universe backing you.
Unfortunately, our society really tries hard to disconnect us from our spirit. And, some people take longer to figure out what it is that they meant to do here.
Oftentimes it's already there. You just have to go back to your youth, like what things that you experienced when you were younger. Then you're going to be so much more motivated. You'll have no trouble waking up in the morning, getting out of bed.
And just listen to what, your body tells you, your mind tells you. Just listen to that voice.
And that's really where well-being comes into play, because now you have that inner knowing, that inner essence that's able to bubble out of you and spread throughout the world.
So it's really important to create a vision for yourself of the kind of life you want to live. And I think once you do that, you're going to be guided, tremendously guided to that path.
You operate under image, okay? Everything in your life, you create an image before you create a thought. So we know that image creates thought. So where do you think you should focus? You should be focusing and creating images that create a powerful, beautiful, healthy life for yourself. But do you?
You can actually create miracles in your health and wellness by really tuning in to that universal quantum field of possibilities. You can do that through prayer. You can do that through intention. You can do that through just like a simple, this is it, I've had enough of this disease. You will experience miracles. You can't help but experience miracles.
I look at health like an onion. An onion has many layers. And when you peel one layer, so let's say it's the layer of sleep, and you start focusing on sleep. When you're now rested, you're now able to peel the next layer because you're rested enough to now address the next layer and the next layer and the next layer. And this is why health is always a journey, because there's always a layer to uncover.
People becoming a little bit more health conscious, where, you see people going to the gym more and, being more physically active, maybe going for that juice instead of, a burger or something like that. Yet they're not changing enough to not be sick.
You only get one body. You don't get a do-over.
They're still going out to the bar on the weekends. They're still, not able to manage their stress at work. They're still not happy with, their life. They're not happy in their relationships. They're not able to cope with the daily stresses and things like that. So it's a long road for people to really truly understand what it is to be healthy and to be in that optimal health.
Wake up to the reality that if you don't make a lifestyle change, your state of health and well-being is not going to improve. It's better to act now before it's too late.
I think it starts with a desire to learn that we can indeed change our health from the outside in, from the inside out.
Take control. Be the hero of your life, not the victim. Take control of your health. Start researching, start looking, and empower yourself with knowledge.
Because it is your body. No one knows what goes on in your body except you.
I'd say love yourself and choose you. You are the only person who can love you the most. You're the only person who can love you the best.
But here's the thing. What if you don't like being with yourself? What if your mind never stops? So you're always trying to keep yourself busy. You're on the phone, you're on the TV, you can't be with yourself. So you bought into the actual belief that you're not fun to be with. You got into the belief that you aren't worth loving. If you can go inside yourself, you are going to find the most beautiful person that you've ever found in your life. Remember, the most important relationship is with yourself before anyone else.
Take the time to hear the birds sing, to appreciate the sunrise coming up every single day. Marvel the rain that nurtures every single being on this planet, whether it be the snow crystals and how beautiful and magnificent they are, whether it be the changing of the leaves, experiencing the wind on your cheeks and the warmth of the sun, and being connected.
Ask questions. Every time you're dealing with health problem, ask your healthcare provider, what are the natural ways that I can be doing things to help me? The doctors will be able to let you know that.
Have a higher standard, have a higher way of your own health. I think it's important that once you have a higher standard, you're going to find those solutions.
Get together as a family, create physical activity time together, because not only will your body function better, not only will you sleep better, not only will you have a healthier, happier life, but you will have greater connection with your children.
Let's start with our education system. Let's educate our kids on what they need to do in order to be healthy. Let's teach kids how to eat healthy. Let's teach kids how to say affirmations every day. Let's teach kids how to exercise and move their bodies every single day. Let's teach kids to love themselves.
What's missing from the current kind of setup that we have in schools is that creativity is being shut down, critical thinking is being shut down, life skills are not being taught to children. Children are being told what to think. They're not, they're not learning how to think for themselves, how to have an opinion.
I believe that it starts with us, the parents. I believe that the caregivers for our children are responsible for teaching our children what is considered healthy and nutritive to our bodies. When we introduce something that is full of sugar, even though we don't think it will harm them in that moment, mentally that child associates that food to fun and a treat and then being rewarded. And why not be rewarded with a healthy body by eating healthy food? By making healthy food accessible and less expensive, that is what's going to help our youth really choose those foods.
Educate them enough so that they understand what they need to do. They understand what the root cause is and what the steps are to take.
What if we all, as a community, unite under improving our health? How much we can accomplish?
Really, society needs to shift its thinking, and then needs to be, policy changes, really changes in pretty much every system of our society, the government, the education system, everywhere.
I would love to see doctors implement holistic and medical in their practice. I I think it would be beneficial for both sides. The perfect healthcare system is to have all of us under one roof. You can have your emergency medical conventional system, you have your natural system, and then you also have other people, your physical therapists, your nutritionists. You have this team of care that is able to create a system that works for you, that treats the whole body and the whole system.
I think it takes a shift in paradigm of doctors and patients. And patients saying, I want more of a holistic approach. And doctors saying, yes, I want to see patients get better results with their health care. And so we can absolutely marry the two paradigms.
The problem is that people don't hear it enough. It's not incorporated in our education system. We don't talk about it much. It's not being promoted on TV. It's not being promoted in commercials.
What do you want to focus on? Do you want to focus on the apocalyptic scenes that are going to make it impossible to live on our planet? Or do you want to focus on the solutions that are all out there, and it's really about just creating the community and the team of people to have the biggest possible impact on a very quick time?
We're creating a planet that was originally called the Garden of Eden. We now become the creators. I think it's possible if we can embrace that as a vision as humanity.
You can do whatever you want to do in order to thrive, in order to be healthy, in order to be happy. You can do anything that you want, and you can have anything that you want. It's all already here.
The answers are this far away. It's not that hard to support your body and be healthy. It's not expensive as it's made out to be. It's not impossible to do. It's actually quite simple if we just listen, and we listen to our bodies, and we also expand our resources.
Do not let his story, history, get you. Create your own story, find your authentic self, and become your own practitioner, because guess what? You have so much more. The hero you're looking for is inside yourself. The practitioner that you're looking for is you. When you decide that you want to be trained and become the master of your mind and your body, that's when you start to not live, but thrive.
Let me come on with the converse and break the ice. Take a chance at romance, let's shake these dice. I got these snake eyes on some great thighs. I tell you I was
The 10 Commandments I would recommend that people live by is
find out your metabolic type, eat right, and take your digestive enzymes.
Something about you, so extraordinary in every area. I wanna share memories with her, the more the merrier.
Move, exercise, use your brain, do something to help humanity.
Definitely taking time to breathe and meditate and reconnect with themselves.
Whatever you feed gets bigger and stronger.
Eating healthy, so incorporating a lot of fruits and vegetables into your diet, and getting lots of rest. So at least 7 hours of rest a night. Definitely sunshine is healing, and I think the biggest one is loving yourself.
Being a gardener would be one. Even if you can produce a little bit of your own food, that would have such an amazing impact on your own life.
Follow your heart, live intentionally, have a life's purpose, be the creator that you are.
Laugh, experience things that are fun, that make you feel happy.
Don't underestimate the power of your mind. If you think you're sick, you will be sick. If you think you are well, you will find and continue to find wellness.